Everybody, are we online? Welcome, everyone. It's Career Happy Hour. It's your executive coach coming to you live every Friday, 3 o'clock Pacific time. Just waiting for every platform we're on here to come online. Happy Friday, everybody. It's Career Happy Hour. If you have any questions, go ahead and put those in the chat. Happy to answer. I'm here to answer your burning career questions, whatever it's regarding. It could be resume, if you must, LinkedIn profile, networking, how to stay engaged, resilience, whatever you're up to, leave it in the chat. I'm happy to answer any of your questions live today. Let me know where you're joining from and if you can hear me or not. That would be great. Good to have you all here. This is live career coaching. I do a couple of things here. I bring people on live, answer your questions too. If you want to, you can put the chat questions out there and I'll answer them. So welcome everybody. I'm Andrew Beach. I'm a teacher of self-education. I help professionals like you communicate your value to find great opportunities faster. And that's whether you're working or not. That's through a pragmatic process of branding yourself, establishing a plan, a brand and a plan, and then executing that through networking. Something I think I know a little bit about, seeing as how I've personally coached over 2,000 candidates in group and individual settings. I lost count. So I stopped counting at 2,000. So if that's you and you have a question for me, I am happy to answer. And regardless of the platform you're joining on, there is a link down below that you can utilize to share this broadcast with other people. Just click the little share link. I share it to your LinkedIn, your Facebook, your Twitter, whatever you have a following on. And that's all I ask. I'm here free every Friday. Well, I guess I have to apologize, except for last Friday when I dropped the ball. I think most of you probably saw that post on LinkedIn. Maybe I'll bring that up here and see if I can find the post I made. My apologies for that. You know, honestly, it totally slipped my mind. I was having so much fun with family. It was a quiet day. We went and got a tree. I mean, there's a lot of great things that happened. Don't get me wrong. So maybe I'll share that post and we can all revel in that in here in a minute. Let me see if I can find it. Anyhow, welcome everybody. Good to have you. Good to see you. Let's see who's here. Maybe that'd be helpful. Terry, good to see you. Cocktail Hour live. Yes, we missed last week. I apologize for that. Got hi from Seattle. Good to see you in Seattle. Nice to have you. Karar, I believe that is, and Idan, good to have you. Burbank, always good to have California in the house. Indiana, wow, what part of Indiana? That's exciting. And we got some folks from Chicago. Good, excellent. Jeannie Swan, good to see you. Happy times, happy times. One of the best technical account managers I can think of in the world. She's really good at what she does. So if you haven't yet connected with Jeannie Swan, please access her profile. This is a community, by the way. This is a community that we serve each other. If you haven't yet connected with people in the chat, highly recommended. And when people reach out to you to connect, I'm going to highly recommend you say yes, and you go after what we call our person a day challenge. Now, I think you remember a week before last, we actually upped that. We said, could we double down just between now and the first of the year? Which, I mean, honestly, there's 31 calendar days between now and January 4th. 31 calendar days now to January 4th. What does that mean? That means you have plenty of opportunities for family, for fun, for relaxation. I get that. Decide which of those days you're going to decide not to work on your job search. And then once you've established that, every other day that you decide to work, 2 people a day. Could we do that? And the answer is yes, you could. The bigger question is, will you? Will you take me up on the 2-person a day challenge just for 31 calendar days? That's it. It's kind of like a sprint. If you guys are familiar with that, a sprint. You're welcome, Jeannie. It's true. I mean, it doesn't have to be ask history, I guess you could call it, but it's true. I mean, if the reputation that I've heard about you is true, then your reputation precedes you, and that's the way it ought to be. Chief troublemaker. I like it. Excellent. Good to see you all. If you've got opportunities too, I mean, hey, share those in the chat as well. I mean, I'm not going to hold you back from collaborating with each other, but if you do have any questions, just put those in the chat. I'm happy to answer. Just a few thoughts I thought I'd share with you today, things top of my mind. Now, it's been 2 weeks since I've been collaborating with you folks. And let me show you. I put this up on LinkedIn and now I can't find it. Oh my goodness. Oh, sad day. I don't know if y'all heard last week that Tony Hsieh passed from a house fire. If you don't know Tony Hsieh, he was the CEO, I think one of the founders of Zappos, and passed on from a house fire. Sad, really interesting guy. If you've never read the book, Delivering Happiness, it's an exceptionally good book on how to approach things, not only from a customer perspective, but how you treat your people. I find that extremely valuable. Here it is. Let's go. Edit post, copy link to post. There we go. Let's see if this comes up. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. I want to show you what I did last Friday. So let's go with this one. Share screen. Here we go. I'll go with that one. Share. Okay. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but here's the deal. This is what I did. Last Friday when I was supposed to be here. I was with the family. We had gotten a tree. We put lights on the tree, and then we decorated the tree. So I'm not suggesting that you're all in on your networking. What I'm suggesting is the days that you don't want to work, just cross those off on your calendar for the next 31 days. Cross those off on my calendar. Now, you know what's funny is I got 1,400 views of this in my feed. Not that that's a big deal, but if you go back and look at my other posts, they're averaging like, I don't know, 400 or 300. It's because I included an image and a dog. Doesn't hurt. And then I just said what I was doing. I apologize for not making it. I was doing family football and a Christmas tree. And I'm not suggesting you post those things on LinkedIn, but sometimes we forget we're human beings. We're not these robots on LinkedIn putting out all this academic content. Okay, it's okay to be human once in a while. I think you would agree with that. But anyway, good on you, Linda. Thank you for doing that. I forgot to remind everybody. If you would please just take 1 second, put your LinkedIn profile address in the chat. I would appreciate that. Yes, Tony Hsieh's passing was tragic. I can't describe it any other way, but I think that it's kind of a reminder, at least to me, as tragic as that was, is that our days here on Earth might be numbered. And I'm not here to be morbid. I'm here to say, okay, we need to get on with what it is that we were put here to do. And what is that for you? What were you put here to do? And is it something that is drawing you in to an opportunity? Is it you pursuing something of value to you and heart-centered pursuit, if you will? So good. Go ahead and follow Linda's lead here. And if you would, go ahead and put your LinkedIn profile in the chat. And that's great. Awesome, Jeannie. Appreciate that. Over 20 years experience as a technical support engineer and specializing in escalations. Yeah, you're good at that stuff. So if anybody is looking for someone like that, I encourage you to connect with Jeannie. Jeannie, I'm sure you're open to having conversations with others as well. This is Career Happy Hour for a reason. It's an opportunity for us to come together as a community and support each other. Okay. Now, I know I had some notes around here somewhere, so let's start with those. I was actually shocked this week. I don't know if you have noticed, but there's company pages on LinkedIn, and I don't think this is anything new to any of us, that LinkedIn has company pages and there's companies that curate content there. The difference I've seen just in the last month, and I don't know if this is unique just to me, maybe you could tell me in the chat as well. I've been seeing a lot of companies posting on people's profiles, a word of encouragement, or hey, sorry about that, or how can we make it up, or way to go, congratulations on the new role. I see them becoming more active as an organization. Now, I recognize there's a person likely behind that, but have you noticed that? Maybe it's just me. I've seen companies making those kind of contributions. So if you've seen that too, just let me know in the chat if you've seen that. I find that very interesting and compelling, primarily because these are cues that we can take for ourselves. We can start thinking about ways to comment on people's posts or like their posts, or, for some way to give them more legs in their process, if you know what I mean. Good. Yasser, thank you for coming in. Appreciate you being here. Yasser's got a great YouTube channel. He's also an influencer here on LinkedIn. I would highly recommend follow him. Go over there and just hit him up. I'm sure Yasser would be happy to have a conversation with anybody. I've seen an uptake in companies engaging too. They used to be so stiff and corporate, online. Yeah, I know. And it's tragic because it was dependent upon the platform they were on, right? Or the property they were on. I saw people engage on Facebook and stuff like that. But this is, this is the first I've seen them engage on LinkedIn as a source other than a place to recruit people. It's now a place to promote your brand. And what better place to promote your brand than LinkedIn? So that's at least what I'm feeling. Good. So I'm not the only one. That's good. Because I want LinkedIn to be a community. I want companies to have a heart. These are all good things. So certainly if you want to come on live, there is a link in the description. I'll bring anybody on live and we can have a conversation. Good. So that's the first thing I noticed. Now, what could I learn from that? Well, I could learn that, hey, maybe I should engage with people's posts, like a birthday or a job promotion, or perhaps a work anniversary. And I may not want to just hit the like button on that. I know a lot of people hit the like button and they grab the lazy text and they call it a good day. And I don't think that's personal at all. I think it's actually insulting. It's insulting the person that's having a milestone event. If anything, I would type some personal note into the description of that. So if you haven't done this before, go to your notification bell on LinkedIn. It's up at the top. And when you click on your notification bell, what you'll see is, hey, this is all the stuff happening in your network. And you'll see something there that says work anniversary, right? So-and-so, all these people are having milestone anniversaries on their job. Great. Go there and click there's two hands going like this, clappy hands or something. Don't just click the thumbs up. Everybody does that. Click the clappy hands, look a little bit different, okay? Now, the other thing I might do is I actually might click through to their profile because I have seen this where you go in and you want to give somebody some congratulatory, hey, you landed, way to go, awesome job. And you find out they landed 6 months ago and they're just now getting around to updating their profile. So just make sure you tender any personal contributions to that person and their situation. So keep that in mind when you're making your congratulatory remarks on LinkedIn. The other thing you could do is if it's somebody's birthday, you could send them a personal message either with your voice or with video. I've seen that used effectively. So you just take your little cell phone and you hold it up and you hit the record button. And you could send something, either a voice message or a video. And whether they open it or not on their birthday, guess what? They're still going to remember you. Trust me. I've got people where I go back through my message strings and I see that I did that with a handful of them. It's hard to, once you get so many connections, it's kind of hard to do that. But that's me giving you an excuse. Not that we need any more excuses, right? That's something that popped up this week, and I appreciate that. That we all have certain excuses that we're allowing to stop us from doing what it is we need to do, or what we want to do, or what we're saying to people we should be doing. So for me, that's one thing I overcame this week. I overcame an excuse. Why? Because I do these things every Friday for free and not expecting anything. And, I keep hearing from people that they appreciate what I'm doing, that the presentations are awesome, right? I hear all these great remarks, and I do appreciate that. But one of the things I thought is, hey, and since I've been a career coach, I felt this too. And that is that if I'm in this business, the people I work with may not have money to invest. I'm asking them to do without something. And so I have my own preconceived notions that I have to, shall you say, work around. And so that's why I wanted to let you know that I did actually create a new thing, and that is a webinar. So this webinar actually is something that's been probably 12 months in the making, if not more, where I've put together some really awesome content on how to go from introvert to networking superstar in 30 days. That's what we're talking about here. In fact, this is kind of the foundation of everything that I've talked about since I got into this business 5 years ago. So if you're interested in something like going from introvert to networking superstar in 30 days, and you want to double your salary in 90, that's one of the case studies that I've got. I would really encourage you to register for this event. It's free. There's no charge. It's on December 17th at 1 p.m. You can sign up for it. It's, in fact, I'll put a link to this. It should be on my events page. A number of people have already checked that out. I will go ahead and share that in the chat here so you can have it. Share it out with your networks if you choose to do so. And just spread the word. I mean, if you don't want to share the live broadcast, that's fine. I get it. If you think this is something of value that you want to participate in, then I'd really encourage you to register for it. So I will put it also in the chat here on the live stream. And yeah, good. There we go. All right. Okay. I just put it in the live stream. So it should be up there. Good. Any questions out there? Go ahead and let me know. Put them in the chat. I'm happy to answer any career-related questions that you have. Any career-related questions you have. Good. Excellent. Thank you. I was just looking at the chat. Sorry for that. So that's the first thing that I saw was these different companies making posts and ways that we can actually interact with our networks in a positive way. And yes, on your phone, you can send video messages through LinkedIn chat. And that's something I think is really effective for birthdays. But I take that a step further. For birthdays, I would either do it in my own voice. If sometimes you're just not in a position of visually speaking to do a video, fine, just do it in your own voice and then put a sticker in there or something. But then I would go back to their profile and I would say, you know what, I'm going to endorse them for some skills. Even if I don't know if they have the skills, I'll say, hey, I heard it from somebody else. It's just an endorsement. I mean, I'm not looking to endorse people for skills that are total strangers, but if these people look legitimate and I feel like I could endorse them, a salesperson for the skill of sales, then that to me makes sense. And it's not so much about me endorsing them. It's about getting visibility, adding a little extra, if you will. The other thing you could do is write them a recommendation. So how great would this be? You get a video message from somebody on your birthday. They endorse you for some skills and they write you a recommendation. How powerful would that trifecta be? What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen if somebody got that from you? How would they feel about you? How would they feel about you? Okay. Good. I think is it Zhao? Is that pronounced right? Hopefully I pronounced that right. How can I answer a career goal question? I'm not sure what you mean by that. So here's the thing, is that I don't believe that there's any new interview questions. There's just different flavors of the same question. And so if this is an interview question, I would suggest that this is not much different than, hey, where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? Okay. And it's a lazy question. Truthfully, there's no new interview questions, and a lot of interviewers are not experienced at interviewing. Shocker, I know. The idea is we can be more prepared than an interviewer, and it doesn't take much effort, truthfully. I would advocate a 10-to-1 strategy for any interview, meaning if I've got a 1-hour interview tomorrow, I'm prepping 10 hours. I'm doing research, I'm practicing my answers, and I assure you, you will be more prepared than the interviewer, just taking a 10-to-1 strategy. So if I get a question like that, how can I answer a career goal question as an interview question or answer? I need to look into, what does my future look like? And many of the people I work with, we create a plan. And whatever you want to call that, a dream job description, a marketing plan, a career map, call it whatever you want. It just articulates who you are and what you like doing and where you're going next in maybe a 5-year window. So I would take the time, energy, and effort to articulate that on paper. And then when somebody says, hey, where do you see yourself in 5 years? Or what's your career goal? Hey, you know what? I've given this a lot of thought. In fact, I've articulated it here on my career map, my marketing plan, whatever you want to call it. Would it be okay if I go through it with you? Just really quickly, take me 2 minutes, right? And then you present your career plan. It could be a 1-pager on PowerPoint. I don't care. It's really up to you. But if that's not what you meant by this question, then please, by all means, correct me on that one, if you would. Okay. Thank you. Awesome. Job website. Are there some better than others? Would it be best to add your resume to everyone you come across? No, I would not add my resume to anything unless it's, a site that I have control over and know where it is. Now, here's the challenge, is a lot of people think that job is found by application resume. And best guess, that's probably about 1% of the marketplace. Application resume through a portal called like Indeed, those job boards, okay? It's a very small percentage of people land through that method. 85% or more probably land through informal social contact called networking. I can't think of any better site for you to be, not so much your resume. Your resume is a two-dimensional representation of your past. It's as my friend Cleon Cox would say, it's a professional obituary. It is. It's your past. It's not your future, and it's not who you are per se. It's what you've done. It's not a future-facing document. So the challenge with resume is you don't know which parts of the resume people are going to resonate with. The idea for a resume where it's really effective is where you have an opportunity tangible, and you can line up your skills and experience with that opportunity tangible. That's what it was designed for. And that's how it's used commonly today. But how do you get to that point? How do you get to that point where you get to introduce a resume and get funneled into a hiring process? It's not from an application resume on a website called Indeed or some third-party place like Dice or whoever. It's because you have the pulse of somebody inside the company. And you don't have to be best of buds. It might just be a phone call to Terry, or a phone call to Jeannie, or an email, or a text message, or a LinkedIn outreach. It doesn't have to be extravagant. You know, it's funny because people think that companies aren't hiring if they're not advertising jobs. And it's such a challenge for me as a coach to convince people everybody is hiring. Okay. Everybody is hiring. Let me say that again. Everybody is hiring, whether they're advertising or not. Okay. Let's make that assumption, gross assumption. If that is what the status is, that means they either don't have the resources, the capacity, the talent acquisition function isn't mature, right? You can lay out 100 reasons why that's not true. Okay. Why they're ineffective. But that doesn't mean it should stop you from having conversations with what? People in the operation that are experiencing real problems that you can solve today. And would they hire you if they understood, wow, I'm too close to my my business to know what my problems are, and you just presented something that exactly is what I'm experiencing. I just haven't had the bandwidth or the arm's length margin to even address it. And that, Terry's here, and he could tell you, as an HR business partner, that's your job, is to work with leaders to give them enough space, enough margin to see how to make the operation better. That to me is common sense, but we have to look at it from candidate perspective. You don't control the internal workings of the company. You only control your activities. And if your activity is application resume on Indeed.com, 1%. That means you're leaving 99% on the table. I don't think that's sound strategy. Or, well, I think it's a tactic, but it's certainly not. It's not a sound, consistent strategy that'll generate results for you. That's why I'm bringing it up. Okay. Good. So I don't advocate posting your resume anywhere. I got my last job I got without a resume. How do I know that? Because I was offered an interview without one. I've seen people drop off their resume to HR the day they started work. Oh yeah, by the way, I know they hired you through this other method, but we need you to do a formal application and put your resume in the file so that we can have it for our retention policy and compliance. Okay. So anyway, good. Any other questions? Put those in the chat. So here's a question from LinkedIn user. I recently applied online for a position and one of the fields asked for salary requirement. I tried to leave it blank, but it said there was an error. If a field was left blank, what should I do in this situation? You pick up your cell phone and you call the talent acquisition people. Hey, I think there's a problem with your website. Do you got 5 minutes? I'd really like to make sure this position is truly open and to see what the salary range is that you have budgeted for this requisition. Would you have time to do that right now? Excellent. It's requisition 156322423. Okay, thank you. Hang up. Call them. Call talent acquisition. Call a hiring person, meaning a hiring manager. Call your buddy who works in finance or customer service. Okay. The challenge with online applications is you are a data entry specialist. And as a data entry specialist, that's tactical work. In fact, there was a whole company. I could put that chat in the chat, actually. This is something I've shared before. It's nothing new. But there was a company that actually did that as a business. You would actually give them all your credentials, all the things you were looking for, your resume, and they had people out. I'm not sure where they were from, probably in an offshore place, making applications for you. So you didn't have to do it. I've had candidates that I've coached that hired somebody on Fiverr to do applications for them. They paid like $20 to have 40 applications done. So it's not strategic work. It's tactical administration. And I don't want to be the person known for tactical administration. And that's a lot of time. Trust me. How many hours does it take to put in an application? I'm not looking to disparage anybody, but let's look at comparative investment. How long does it take to make a phone call? So you dial 9 digits and they don't answer. Or is it 10 digits? You dial 10 digits, nobody answers. How long did that take you? Like 5 seconds, 30 seconds, maybe a minute. And yet we're so eager and willing to go online, find a position and apply to it without ever knowing if it's valid, number one. Number two, if we got a shot or if they have a preferred candidate. We could list 1,000 reasons why that position is not going to be yours. It's one person out of 250. That's a very small percentage of people, front door application, that even get a look. Okay, so let's say 10 people get interviewed. That's 10 out of 250. What are the odds you're even getting it just off your application resume? Very small percentage. Okay, so that I would find out, if I could, who the hiring people are, and I would only make an app. This is my philosophy. It doesn't have to be yours. I would only make an application resume process when I've been told to do so by somebody on the inside in the operation or a hiring manager. I would absolutely do it. At that point, I'm happy to put together an application resume because I'm at an advantage. My reputation, my relationship have preceded an application resume. Guess what? Your odds of success went up exponentially, probably 100 times more successful. Okay. So, I don't know who posted that because it shows up as LinkedIn user, but if you want to just make sure you put your name in the chat when you put it, if you put up that question. So I had an interview. The interviewer asked me, "What are you looking for?" I'm looking for an opportunity to make a difference. Can I share with you what that is? Can I share with you what that is? Yes, of course. That's called a tie down. Are you familiar with tie downs? This is a sales term. It's something to get people in agreement with you. And the more they can say yes during an interview, the higher probability they are to say yes when you ask for the job or to move to the next phase or to get to the next interview. It's called a tie down. Okay. And then you share with them your positioning statement. I have a video. I think I did it not too long ago. If you go to my YouTube channel, there is a video there on how to answer the tell me about yourself question. Okay. So if you're going to an interviewer and at the front end of the interview, it's called an icebreaker. Every interview I've ever heard of had an icebreaker. Tell me about yourself. Why do you want this job? Why do you think you're a fit? I mean, it's so rote. You could, I've written a whole interview checklist on how to do this. So the idea is you would have a positioning statement there that is a verbal cover letter. Okay. This is what I'm looking for. This is who I am. These are the type of opportunities I want to develop in. Tell me more about your capacity to develop people. Tell me more about the ideal candidate. Tell me more. It's a 5-part framework and it's free. It's on my YouTube channel if you want to look at it. Okay. I told financial analyst, then he told me this is not the right position for you. And this is a supply chain position. See, the problem is when I have a requisition, application resume, I'm now in audit phase. The job of a recruiter, talent acquisition person is to audit you against the requisition. Sounds simple to me. So if I come in and say financial analyst, but this is supply chain, what I'm not doing is I'm not building a bridge. I just put up a wall. So be cautious when you're going into these things. Know exactly what the role is, what it entails before you make a statement. So sometimes they ask you a question. Maybe it's a recruiter or a third party and they have no position open for you. They're just trying to be nice. I don't know the circumstance behind it, but anyway, preparation is key. Professional obituary. Yeah. We need more of the growth mindset way of showing you. Yeah, absolutely. Jeannie is absolutely right. We need to see more of a growth mindset. Who you are and what you've done is the past, but where have you gone? Where are you going from there? There needs to be an extension, a purpose. I just want to do the same thing in a different place. That's not a compelling narrative. A compelling narrative would be, what problem do I solve in the marketplace efficiently well? And where do I see myself using that going forward? Okay, that's why people actually hire somebody like me, so they can find that out and actually execute it. Good job. Thank you for that. By the way, before we move on, there is an opportunity for you to come on live if you want to. Activate your little webcam and we can do some live coaching right now. There's a link in the chat. There's a link in the description. I could put it in there again. In fact, let me get the little link here and I'll put it up in the chat box so y'all can have it. So if you're interested, come on, let's do this thing. Let's go live. Okay. Join me live. There we go. Awesome. So let me switch that over. Okay, good. Any other questions out there? Just let me know. Let's see. Let's see what it says here. Sorry, Archie, for holding you up on that one. Let's see what it says here. Do you think corporations are more vocal on individual social media sites now in order to manage damage control, since folks are now more vocal about service and performance? Maybe. I think a lot of companies are starting to figure out this idea of experience management, which is employee experience, candidate experience, right? Customer experience. They're looking at it more holistically, that every touch point that you have in with a person ought to have some kind of an experience attached to it, so that you're consistently seen as positive regardless of the touch point. I look at companies much like a fishbowl. To think that they aren't going through some kind of an evaluation by people on the outside, that they have everything close to the vest and nobody can see what they're doing, I think is a fool's errand. So I do like that they're engaging on LinkedIn. I hadn't seen that a lot in the past, and I do appreciate that. Let's see. Good. Thank you. Jeannie's got some input, some advice or contribution here. When I interview a candidate, I will look at the resume that the talent acquisition team sent me, but I also check for their LinkedIn. Shocker. I wonder why that is. Let me ask you this. How many, if I picked up 10 resumes today, would any one of them look or be structured the same? Likely not. Likely not. A lot of the reasons why LinkedIn is so valuable is everybody's profile is structured exactly the same. You got the headline, the photograph, the background image. It's all the same. So I can very quickly go down a LinkedIn profile and find stuff way faster to make a decision on a candidate than I can from a resume. So good call out, right? You want to see who's endorsed, a better picture of who they are, right? That's the whole reason to I can see a day in the future, and Terry's here in the waiting room, which I appreciate, but I can see a day in the not too distant future where we're not going to need resumes anymore. We're going to have LinkedIn or some electronic presentation, and people will make an assessment based on that. So I do notice here, though, Terry, if you're intending to come in, that your connection speed is a little low. So I don't know if there's anything you could do, maybe close some windows or something. I don't know. So good. Zai has another question. A recruiter called me. All they asked is what I need to know about the position. There's not even one of those 40 questions given upon. I'm not sure what you're saying there, Zai. Maybe you could be more a little explicative. Here's the challenge when we use some generic term called recruiter, because that can mean a lot of different things. It could be internal talent acquisition. It could be a third-party search firm. Could be a staffing agency. We don't know who this person is or who they represent. So I think it's perfectly okay if they don't have any of the information for you to ask questions. How long have you been in the business? Who do you represent? What companies have you placed in? What candidates have you placed at which companies in the last 6 months? So I can have an idea of what sandbox they're playing in. Are they a retained search firm? Are they a contingency recruiter? We need to ask questions. Just as much as we're answering questions, we need to ask questions as well. So good. Jeannie coming with a question. Nice. When you have a job and you're looking at your next step, but there isn't a match, how do you forge your path? I think many of the people who know me will know the answer to that question. And that is people. You talk about your passion and your brand to anybody who will listen. And I think Terry is probably a good example of that. I don't know how many people in the last 6 months he's shared his brand with. We'll probably hear from him in just a minute. But the idea here is the path is forged by you. And the challenge is if you knock on the same door over and over again, eventually it'll open. But if it doesn't, you have to knock on another door. And that might be at a different company, a different department, a different industry. It's really up to you to create a path. I think that's the career plan of the future is really designing your own path. There is the market is moving way too fast for us to be hamstrung by a title. We have to look at our basket of stuff and say, this is what I'm good at. Where would you plug me in? Talent mobility is a big deal right now for a lot of reasons. But being able to be, how would you say, adaptable? And I don't like the word adaptable. Versatile. You need to be versatile. Meaning, hey, I got this set of skills and I know how to use them, but I need to be versatile enough to say, hey, they don't need me in customer service today, but they do need me in delivery operations or health and safety. I could walk my skills over to a different part of the business and use them in a different way. I need to be mobile that way and agile. I think that's the term, agile. Okay. Good. Well, Terry's here. I'm done talking. I'm going to have Terry do some talking. We'll see if he's good to go. He may not be good to go, but we'll see. We'll check. Just make sure you silenced your stuff there, Terry, if you could, please. Anyway, Terry Smith, the venerable Terry Smith, everybody.
Thank you, Andrew. Thank you. Good to be here. Good to be here on Cocktail Hour career fair. So.
Yeah. Was that a real cocktail? Wait a minute. All I got's water.
Well, this is apple juice. So
Right. Fermented apple juice.
Yeah. Well, if it works, it works.
Yeah. So you probably heard some of the things I was saying.
Yeah.
What are your feelings on current state of affairs and perhaps talent mobility? What have you noticed or seen, or and then you can share with us maybe some of the things you've done displaying your brand the last 6 months, because I know you've been hitting that pretty hard.
Yes. So to the first point, from a talent mobility standpoint, I think the circumstances have compelled a different approach because of what they are, right? I think the days of there's two paths on this. Number one, the days of somebody just being niched in one particular corner of the organization, arguably were waning anyway, and then this whole situation gave it a real swift kick. That said, what it's leading to in a certain way online, from what I've seen, is this propensity around writing absolutely insanely impossible job descriptions as postings, right?
You haven't seen any of those, have you?
No, not me.
No unicorn job postings for Terry's domain today, is there?
No purple unicorns with squirrel tails. No, nothing like that at all. No, and that that is system. That's demonstrative of two things. One, this sort of lack of really trying to of understanding exactly what it means to be sort of agile or career mobile, and conflating it into a model for not necessarily selecting candidates, but for eliminating candidates. Okay, so if I can create this laundry list of things based on sort of this weird mentality around, gee, we want to be sure that the people we hire are just extremely capable of being mobile within the organization or agile within the organization, we're going to create this impossible list of desires that we have for any given position that will ensure that there's enough stuff there. And this is me being a little bit, a little bit pessimistic about it, but we'll ensure that we've got enough data that we can check off that says, hey, you know what? These 177 people don't fit because there's, 35 things and they only have 18 of them, or 16 of them, right? And so I think there's a bit of that going on. And I think that's just going to take time to evolve, right? I think I think you're right on the money. I think there is a definite interest in and desire for that sort of level of flexibility and capability, but it's right now it's being overstated in a lot of ways, because one, it's just a lack of understanding, and two, it's an overzealous attempt to try and get there quickly, right? So that's just a thumbnail sketch of it.
Yeah, I feel like the world of work is changing, and that's it's exacerbated by the pandemic.
Yep.
And that people that were in a role, say 6 months ago, they're not in that role anymore, and that might cause disruption not only in their lives but in the business. I can't claim to know all the ways it's going to impact things, but I really feel like if you have a set of skills, you really need to think about them in a different way. So that they're so that you're not tone deaf to the marketplace, that you're providing things that the market wants, and don't wait for the market to provide. That would be the other thing I guess I would say. So put your candidate hat on now, Terry.
Yep.
And tell me, how many times have you shared your brand in the last 6 months?
It's a lot. Just to give you a bit of a sense of it, on LinkedIn, I have, since the end of September, I have added over 200 new contacts. And I've been using my LinkedIn profile and some very sort of compact self-introductory methods to garner contacts. And then what I'm trying to do, and which I need to be better at, is following up those contacts with live conversations. So that's, but the fact that I'm getting that much new activity is certainly really positive. And I am starting to see results from that. As an example, today, just this morning, I had a conversation with a gentleman who I went through that exercise with about a month ago. I sent out this, based on, and my formula is based on some number of mutual contacts. It seems like it makes sense for us to be connected directly rather than indirectly. More often than not, people say, yeah. And in fact, that's working amazingly well. And then the follow-up is, hey, now that we know that, let's talk. Let's learn about each other a little bit, which led to a fantastic conversation this morning as one example where, somebody that prior to a month ago, we were in the same industry at that particular point, but we didn't know each other. Now we do. And now he's talking to somebody else about, and we're going to meet up next week and we're going to go do, and so on. So, again, to from that standpoint, just building the network is incredibly important. And then the other things I've been doing lately. So, for example, yesterday, I did in conjunction with a group here in town called Mulberry Partners, I did a webinar, a piece on interviewing and on interview techniques for, the modern workplace and so forth. And I've done now a couple of those, and I've got a couple more coming up in January. So I'm trying to, to take the opportunity to share a little bit of what I know around, these sorts of things in, virtual group settings. And the one yesterday.
So was that from a candidate perspective, Terry, or is that from a talent acquisition perspective in terms of interview best practice?
I've been taking it from a candidate point of view.
Okay.
And the event yesterday, for example, a lot of traction, a lot of great questions. A bunch of people reached out on LinkedIn and said, hey, I'd love to learn more about how you think about this, what your process is. Maybe can I get some coaching on, kind of how to prepare for this? Really interesting point in that conversation. I talked, briefly about the whole STAR method, right? Situation, task, action, results. And it was fascinating how many people, there were 100 or so people online at the time. And it was amazing how few of them seemed to know anything about that. It's like, wow, this is an opportunity. Let's talk. I'm happy to help you and get you spooled up on how to use that methodology, because I assure you at some point you'll run into it.
Yes.
It's better to be ready.
Well, yeah, learn to tell stories. I mean, all that is a compelling story framework.
Exactly.
And in a way that someone can understand in less than 2 minutes, whether you got it or you don't. So.
And that's the exact framework I use. It's storytelling, and and especially for people who aren't comfortable telling stories necessarily, it's a good way to just take it out of that sort of emotional, it's about me, put it in a framework that it's about a person that just happens to be me. And that really seemed to resonate. It was fascinating how many people were just like, oh, really? Never heard of that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, so Terry, you're networking. You're interviewing.
Yeah.
Where do you need the most help? Are you converting your interviews?
We'll find out. I've got 2 possibilities coming up that could turn around as soon as next week.
Okay.
So by this time next week, I may have an answer for that.
I hope so.
Yeah, me too. I mean, right at the moment, the answer is no, but then the interviews have been few and far between. I will say that it's, at the level I live at in the world I'm in, it's more about, as we've talked about before, creating opportunities and creating, an understanding of what I can bring to the organization. My kind of world, you're not going to see a lot of, LinkedIn postings. Hey, director, VP, talent management, organizational development, process improvement, succession planning, all that kind of stuff. They just don't put those on the tree.
Yeah. Well, and organizations may not be aware enough to know they need something like that. That's the other side of it.
Very true.
And the consultative approach, coming in as an outsider and giving somebody fresh perspective, is like, wow, you know what? You're right.
Mm-hmm.
I think I mentioned that just a second ago, is sometimes they're so heads down in running their organization and they don't take enough time. So we used to call it working in the business or working on the business. And so if you're in the business all the time and not working on the business to make it better, someone's going to pass you because you're not focused. You don't look up long enough to see what's happening around you.
Right.
And that's problematic. That's what happened to the retail industry. We see how that's transforming.
Yes.
So good. Let's see if we got some questions here, Terry, and maybe you can help me with this.
Yeah, it looks like we've got at least one.
Yeah. So question for HR and hiring managers: is having less than 100 endorsements on your top 3 skills a deal breaker?
Boy, I hope not.
Well, so I mean, I guess the question I would have is you're likely more familiar than I am with the LinkedIn Recruiter version of the product.
Yeah.
And so I don't know if there's any kind of algorithm or scoring methodology on the other side of the fence that I'm not aware of. But how do endorsements play into that process? And is there any indicator on the other side, LinkedIn Recruiter, for that?
Well, there probably is. If there is, I've never used it. And nobody on the teams that I've run or led have ever used it either. So to answer the question succinctly, I would say, first of all, less than 100 endorsements on your top 3 skills, unless the competition is just brutal, I would say that's not a deal breaker. The thing about the top 3 skills is they're just that. They're skills. They're not attributes. They tell me that you know how to do some things, right? They don't tell me much about who you are. And that's really what I push my recruiters towards is, use the tool to understand who the person is. Look at things like, what do they get involved in? What sorts of volunteer work do they do? What sorts of, organizations do they follow? What are their interests? That tells me more about them than, can they, write C# code in blinding detail? Okay, that's nice to know, and it's important because the position's a C# programming position. But I mean, I'm going to assume that by the time we're at the point of a short list, that's already off the table. And now I'm really looking for who this person is and how they as an individual can be part of my community of people.
Yeah. I mean, I would be entirely shocked if that was a filtering mechanism in or out of a hiring process.
I would too.
I think people would be looking more at your accomplishment. What accomplishments do you have on your LinkedIn profile? What they do use is they do use the skill as a filter, but maybe not the endorsement. So I would be more interested in making sure you have the right skills on your profile than I would how many endorsements you have.
Yeah, and if I remember,
but that wouldn't stop me from giving endorsements. I know that sounds weird, right? But I think the thing you control is not people giving you endorsements. It's you giving others endorsements. And that in turn will lead to endorsements for you. I know it's weird, but I don't know anybody who goes in and audits the endorsements to see if there's quid pro quo. Anyway.
I hope not.
Yeah. Well, I know you can see that on recommendations, and it doesn't sit well with me when I see 3 given and 3 received on the recommendations, and they're the exact same people.
Yeah.
And they're from 10 years ago.
That looks a little odd, to be sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. So here's another one from Tracy. A couple of endorsements are not especially well written. I think she means recommendations, but super kind of people to share. Should I hide those? No, but I would ask for a revision. You can go in and edit that section under recommendations on your profile and just say, hey, would you mind updating this? But the way you have to do it is you have to copy the text that's already there before you ask for a revision, because it won't bring it over automatically, which is just a user experience problem with LinkedIn. Not that there isn't a whole lot of user experience problems on LinkedIn. It's not a very intuitive platform to begin with.
No.
So I would go into my recommendations. I would edit those recommendations. I'd select the one I want a revision on, copy all the information you have there, hit revise, paste it in, and make the revisions you want and send it off. And I have not had anybody deny or decline to make the revision. And if they do, then I hide it. And then I go seek out other people to give me recommendations, like a Terry Smith or a Jeannie Swan or whoever. Yeah. I just go down to the next person. So good. Let me see here. I think it's Zhao. Do you pronounce that Zhao? Maybe I'm getting that wrong. Do you suggest to take LinkedIn skills test? Terry, you familiar with that?
Yeah, to some extent. It really depends on what you do, what your role is. What I mean by that is that in some cases, the skills test can help you kind of articulate, areas. The good news is that if you take the skills test and you don't get things right, I mean, it's not going to publish it automatically. It's not going to put it out there and say, "Look, Terry blew this test." Yeah. Oh crap. It's not going to do that.
He scored a 10.
But if you, and then, so it gives you a chance to take a look at, things that if you feel like you have a particular use for that skill, or it's very important to the role that you do, and you feel like it's worth just testing to see if you need to brush up a little bit on something, that's probably reasonable. As an example, so I took the Microsoft Word skills test not too long ago. And I use Word from time to time, and I write documents and I edit documents and this and that. I bombed that thing. I bombed it. I think I got 2 out of 10.
Oh my gosh.
But it was just this really.
Terry, why did you admit this?
Well, let me explain why I did. Partly it's for the fun, but partly so it was really, 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 really specific and detailed. I mean, some of the questions were about things I had never even heard of, right? Now, somebody who operates in Microsoft Word on an hour-by-hour basis that is, just grinding out giant legal documents with lots of things like footnotes and afternotes and this, that, and the other thing, that makes sense, right? That absolutely makes sense that somebody at that level of skill required for their role should be well brushed up on those details. Somebody like me, who is a very casual user of Microsoft Word, I don't really need to get to that level of detail. So, it was instructive from the fact that there was a ton of detail that I know nothing about. But in the long run, do I really need to know how to do this or that minute thing? Answer is probably not. Yeah. Now, I went and did the same thing with an Excel test, and I aced it because I use Excel all the time. I tinker with it. I play around with formulas, and I try to build formulas because it's kind of fun to do for me.
Right.
So, so I aced that one. So it's just the difference in how you apply.
Yeah. Well, and I think I look at it from a different perspective, knowing what I know about LinkedIn during its history. And that is they don't do anything on accident. So there's a reason they're doing a test, and I don't know yet what that is. So part of this is, number one, did they put it in so that actually they'll filter you into a hiring process or not? That is a question. I don't know the hiring side of a LinkedIn recruiter to know, can I check people that have a score of X and above? Well, have they taken the test?
Yeah.
The other side of it is, are they doing it just to perpetuate a monetization strategy for LinkedIn Learning? I don't know. But there's a lot of reasons why it's there. And would I advocate taking it? Yes. But I wouldn't expect it to do for me something over and above just saying I have that skill.
Yeah.
I wouldn't expect it to get me a job. I wouldn't expect it to get me an interview. I just, so we have to maintain proper expectations. Now, I'm never going to tell somebody don't sharpen the saw. Yeah. I think you should. Yeah. Go sharpen your saw. Absolutely. But let's not think that by sharpening that saw, we're automatically going to get a job. It's not, right. It just doesn't work that way. So
right.
Anyway.
No, it's very useful from the standpoint of, personal development and just being, in front of some of these things. But yeah, I would not overemphasize it particularly.
Yeah. Well, and for guys like us, it's like, yeah, I still got it. I still got it.
I can still cut and paste.
Yeah, exactly. I can still see the keyboard.
Yeah.
Right. Without corrective lenses.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, that's funny. Let me see if I missed any here. No, I don't think I missed any. Good. Any other questions out there? Terry, did you put your information in the chat for your LinkedIn profile? Okay. Yeah. Good. I don't have anything else to share. I think we should go have a glass of whatever we choose.
I think that's a reasonable thing.
Now that it's Friday.
Yeah. It's been a heck of a week.
Yeah. I hear a lot of people interviewing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. People getting multiple interviews. I hear people getting offers. Somebody from our group this week had, what did he have? 2 or 3? He had 2 or 3 people in the final stages of submitting something. So I see movement.
Yeah,
If you engage with the marketplace, right?
Yeah, you made an important point earlier on, right? I mean, companies are hiring. It may not be, brutally obvious that they're hiring, but they're out there hiring. You just have to go find it.
31 calendar days till January 4. 31. Who wants a job in the next 31 days, you think? Most of the people here probably, right?
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah.
So a new question just came up. Do you suggest us to send recommendations to the interviewer?
I'm not sure. Are we using the right terminology here?
Yeah.
I think we're talking references. So maybe that's letters of recommendation. I'm not sure. There might be a language barrier here, but
thanks, Teresa.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, I'll approach it 2 ways. Do I recommend that, or do I suggest that we take the online recommendation stuff that is in LinkedIn and forward it to the interviewer, or forward them a link to it? No. Do I suggest, if you have letters of reference, to forward them? Thanks, Leaf. There's sort of 2 schools of thought about a letter of reference. Number one, letters of reference are obvious. You're going to send a letter of reference from somebody who thinks you're great, and who is going to take the time and energy to sit down and write why they think you're great. Lovely. That's wonderful. But it's a little bit, okay, recommendations at LinkedIn are from, but a letter of reference is something I would really hold on to, more as a matter of sort of underscoring what you've said in the interview. I mean, if it gets to that point, where they're starting to talk about references and so forth, I mean, you can forward a letter of reference at that point, but they'll also want to talk to the references. So you want to have your list of references ready at the point of which they are making an offer. And that's an important distinction, as long as I've brought that up. What I would strongly recommend against is providing any kind of references until there's an offer in place.
Yeah. I mean, there's a process. Every HR talent acquisition process driven. At least that's, and you could correct me if I'm wrong. They ask for certain things at certain times throughout the process because they follow a process.
Right.
For a lot of reasons. Good.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you for that. And if you would please just take a second and share this out with your networks, I'd appreciate that. We're here every Friday, 3 p.m. Pacific time. It's career happy hour. It's happy hour somewhere. It's going to be happy hour here in about 2 minutes. Maybe a little Pinot Noir, if you know what I mean.
There you go.
So, by the way, reach out to me, Terry, if you want any of that. I might be able to get you some.
Okay, thanks.
It's not going to be around for long. Okay. Know. Be well. Take care. Have a good weekend.
You too.
Yep. All right, folks. Thanks for joining today during this career happy hour. Good to have you all. So if you want, I would really encourage you to sign up for the free webinar I'm having on December 17th, 1 p.m. Pacific time. You can find that information. I'll put it in the description of the video. It's free. And it's how you can double your salary in 90 days. If that's something you're interested in, highly recommend you check it out. I also recommend that you reach out to and connect with anybody that's shown their face in the chat and put their LinkedIn profile address there. We can all depend on each other. And please take that 2-person a day challenge for the next 31 days, or at least the days you decide to work for the next 31. Maybe you take 5, 6, 7, 8 days off for the holidays and have fun with your family, and the rest of the days, 2 people. So if that's you, keep me posted on how you're doing, and we'll see you next week on Career Happy Hour. Take care, everybody.